Stephen. This is a response to your video suicide question mark. You asked the question if you think suicide is a logical answer, I think was the question. Let's just say I consider it a viable option. You know, it's a comfort to me to know that, you know, if life does get too rough and I can't handle it anymore, that there is that way out. You know, but it is a permanent solution, and so far I've not had any permanent problems. Not that permanent problems don't exist. I mean, you know, if I got Alzheimer's or something like that, you know, I probably would go ahead and consider that option. But, I mean, I don't have any arguments with any of the points you put across. I don't agree with the notion of it being a selfish thing to do. If anything, it's selfish of people to expect you to suffer through life. You know, that's why I had my dog put to sleep, you know, because he was suffering, and for me to not do so was selfish of me. The religious idea, the idea that you know, some God is going to hold you accountable for succumbing to a mental illness and then torture you for all eternity for that, you know, seems pretty silly to me as well. The fear factor is big. That's usually the one that keeps me from going all the way with that thing. You know, what would happen if I fucked it up? That's the same thought processes that go through my head that keep me from going outside my house tend to keep me from committing suicide as well. It's my hallmark emotion of fear. You know, if it's a case of happiness or lack of, you know, happiness is happiness is relative to sadness. You've got to have both. You've got to feel both. If you had permanent happiness all the time, if you were able to achieve that, it would eventually become boredom, which wouldn't be happiness anymore. I mean, you know, cupcakes are delicious, but if you eat them for every meal, every day for years on end, eventually you're going to hate cupcakes. They're going to be awful to you. You know, you need the comparison. And the deeper that you are able to feel sadness, the more able you will be to feel higher levels of joy and pleasure. That's just kind of how that thing works. And if it's a case of quality of life, or just the conditions of your existence, those can't really be a reason either, because those things are relative. They're like feelings, like your sense of touch. If if I have you soak your hand in hot water, and then I have you place it in room temperature water, that water feels cold. And if I have you soak your hand in ice water and put your hand back in the same lukewarm water, now it feels warm. The water didn't change, and your senses and you didn't change. It was just the only thing that changed was what that feeling was in relation to. And it's the same with our condition in life. It's, what are you comparing it to? Advertisers play to this all the time by having, making us compare ourselves to, impossible images, in order to get us to keep continually buying items that we think are going to improve that. If I'm comparing my life to Brad Pitt or Bill Gates or somebody, then I'm going to probably come up short. But I don't compare my life to those guys. That's probably one of the beneficial things that came out of being in the Navy for me, was I got to go and see a lot of places, and I got to see what suffering and what misery looks like firsthand. You can see it on TV, but it's just not the same as when it's right in front of you. And when I'm feeling down and I'm feeling like my life is really bad, I'll think about those things. I'll think about those people that I saw. When I was in Mombasa, I saw a little kid, probably 6 years old, I guess. And as far as I could tell, he was a leper, and he had all of his arms and his feet were all wrapped up in just dirty rags and bits of animal skin, it looked like. And he was just laying there in the street, having people step over him like he was a piece of gum they didn't want to get on their shoe, with his begging cup there. I went and dropped some money in his cup, and there was just, there was no reaction whatsoever. He was conscious and aware as far as I could tell, but the dead stare in his eye never changed at all. And to see that in a little kid was, it's something I'll never forget. And when I compare my life to his and to lots of other people like that I saw, I mean, even if I was homeless in America, I would be doing better off than those people. I mean, if I was eating out of dumpsters, I'd still be doing better off than those people. So, it is relative. It is what you're comparing it to. That is the significant thing. That's what matters, not what your life is like. They'll try and tell you, you know, it's going to get better. And it may. And then eventually it's going to get worse, and then, you know, it's going to get even shittier than that, and then it's going to get better again, and then it may get fantastic, and then it's going to get shitty again. That's how life goes. It goes up and down. There is no, like I said before, there's no permanent happiness. It's always going to fluctuate. But it would be a shame if you don't survive one of those low points and miss the high points that might come. You know, you made the point that people will say to you, you've got so much life left to live. Well, you don't. I don't. None of us do. Life goes like that. You know, you're, what, 20-something now? The last 20 years went by, for me, like a blink of an eye. You know, I bought a puppy, and the next thing you know, I was burying him. Bought another one. Next thing you know, I'm burying another old dog. You know, just time just zips by like that, and before you know it, you'll be gone too. Life's gonna kill you fast enough. There's really no need to rush it. You know, and really, when you think about it, you have gotten phenomenally lucky to be who you are, when you are. You could have been born in so many different times where, you know, everybody lives in fear and everybody lives in misery. You know, there's been lots of miserable times in human history to have been popped into existence. And this really isn't one of them. Regardless of what the news keeps trying to tell you, this is actually a really good time to be alive. You're right in the middle of a renaissance that makes the last one look pathetic and trivial. You're at an age when ages pass before our very eyes. We don't have, you know, it's like it took forever to get from you know, Stone Age to Bronze Age, you know, but we're watching ages like that pass in front of our eyes. You know, in the span of our lifetimes, we're seeing incredible changes in just the state of existence for humanity. And, you know, a renaissance to the average dullard is, you know, who cares? You know, it's nothing to him. But you're not that person. You're an intelligent person and a creative person and a person whose mind is active. You know, you've said you have a tormented mind. Well, that's the nature of creative minds. They're tormented an awful lot of the time. But they're not boring. And you are living in a fascinating time and are uniquely equipped to enjoy that time and get a lot out of it. So, you know, consider those things. I'm not here to convince you of what you need to do one way or the other. I'm just telling you my picture of it and my view of it, and things that I consider when I'm feeling the same way you are. So I hope you think about it. personally, I hope you don't. I hope you stick around. I think this world really needs more people like you. It'd be a shame if we lose another one just to a temporary bout of depression.